Welcome to It's Your Date with Destiny with Apostle Vivian and Pastor Jemma Duncan of Divine Destiny Worship Center in Diego Martin. For the next 30 minutes, join us as we take you on a journey of maximizing your potential and realizing your goals through Jesus Christ.
Why is it when you need a miracle, it doesn't happen, but when you least expect it, it happens?
You are married, you have challenges in your relationship, but your spouse is unwilling to accede to any counseling. Is divorce an option?
How does a parent handle a promiscuous child?
What are considered the do's and don'ts of a born-again couple who is not yet married?
There are always more questions than answers. So here is Apostle Jemma.
Very good morning to you. Welcome to Ask Pastor Jemma. If you're a first-time viewer, my name is Jemma Duncan. I am married to Apostle Vivian Duncan, and together we pastor Divine Destiny Worship Center. Our headquarters is in Diego Martin on the Diego Martin Main Road, opposite Sadonex Drive. We have branches in Shogunas. We have one in Faizabad, Sangre Grande, Tobago, Antigua, and our baby branch is in Rio Claro. Thank you for taking the time to be with me this morning, and I'm continuing on my topic of love. Remember, if you are a frequent viewer, that I had 3 questions, and it's taken me, this is the 4th week to talk about them. And it says, when a woman says she wants you to open up, how do you do that? She tells me that I say I love her, but she's not seen it. Should I stop doing all the things I'm doing and focusing on loving her? I know I ought to love my spouse, but I feel like I'm running out of ideas. Any suggestions? And I started with question number 3. Then I went to 2, and now I'm at 1. And today we're going to chat a little bit about when a woman says she wants you to open up. How do you do that? What does that mean to somebody? And it goes both ways. It's not just like one way. What does that mean? For many couples, it is possible to have sexual intercourse without intimacy. And there is this lack of emotional attachment where we are simply meeting our physical needs. So sometimes, and many times, we find that in marriages and relationships where we have sexual needs and it's a physical need, and those needs are met, but there is a lack of what we call intimacy. And after a while, it becomes very difficult, especially for women. Women, I think men need it as well. I don't want to try to generalize, but women really need what we call a kind of emotional attachment to somebody. That's why women generally are not given to like flings. You know, men could go from woman to woman, and that is what it seems like. And it seems like nothing to them. They just have sex with that person. Usually, women, it becomes complicated because it starts off as some little fling, a little one night something, and then we want to make something out of it. And so what are we saying then is that we need that emotional attachment. The person to whom you're emotionally attached has your heart. And we find problems arising in relationships where somebody becomes emotionally attached to somebody other than your spouse. It happens, for example, with people with whom you work closely. So usually you would find bosses and secretaries having emotional attachment. And many, many times relationships come out of that. And I don't believe that it started off with them intending to have such a relationship, but because you spend so much time together, you become emotionally attached. Sometimes these women know exactly how the man feels. She knows when he comes into the office, she knows if he wants coffee, if he wants juice today, he doesn't have to ask. Or if to give him 2 painkillers. She will watch that face and know he has a headache this morning or something. So she comes in the office and his mood changes, and she knows before long ago, you come for dictation. And before you take a little pad out for dictation, you already know, you know what, let me come back, and she brings coffee or juice or gets 2 painkillers because he's there frowning and his brows are furrowed, and so you kind of know what to do. Some people go so far, they get close to that person enough to give them a neck rub. because you know how to relax that individual. Now you're treading on dangerous grounds there. Because what you're doing is, we're talking about touching and so on, and that makes him feel good. So what you're creating a kind of bond and an emotional attachment that could lead to other things. Counselors, people get emotionally attached to counselors, especially if it's male, female, and you go talking to this person and you're sharing your heart. And what are you doing? You're opening up yourself, because when I go to a counselor and I really open my heart to that person, you're vulnerable. And that person is sympathetic, they say the right words. Of course, he's trained to say that. Everything he's telling you, he's trained. It's not, he sounds like he's more caring than your husband. He listens. He's a counselor. He's trained to behave in that manner, to say all these things. And you start to become attached. I have had to deal with people who actually got pregnant for the counselor. That person who's been there as an intermediary between the husband and wife, and they became intimate. And sometimes people in those positions take advantage of people, right? So you have many cases like that. Sometimes it's the help at home, who the person, a very nice person, they get to know the husband very well and his needs and so on and so forth. And I remember this lady was saying, when she realized every second word come out the husband's mouth was the maid's name, she fired her. And, because, it's her food, he's talking about this or this, he's talking about how she ironed the clothes, and, he went on, and he wasn't even aware that he was just talking about this person all of the time. That's why people say, but how he could go with she? How he could leave this wife and that person? They had an emotional attachment. So when your wife or your spouse says, you're not opening up, in other words, she said there is no emotional attachment, and that is what she wants. Who is that person to whom you're emotionally attached? Is the person you share your dreams with, the person you bare your soul to, the person you tell something that you're dreaming that's so far-fetched. You don't want to tell anybody else. You're afraid that they will laugh at you. You're afraid that they'll think you're crazy. Yet you feel confident enough to tell that person, I want to do this. I plan to do this. I don't know how or when, or, and so on. But this is something I always wanted to do, and you share your heart to that person. The person you talk your failures to and your pains when you're hurting. Because some people, we in a relationship, we married, and I don't know that something affecting you to that extent, but there is somebody that you will go and talk to. That person, you have an emotional attachment to that person, and that's a dangerous ground to be on. As a matter of fact, I remember listening to a TV program, and they were talking about emotional attachment, and this news broadcaster said she prefers, because many times they talk about husbands having, or spouses having emotional attachment with other people, and she said she prefers a husband to have a sexual relationship than an emotional attachment. Well, I don't want either. Because the emotional attachment is one thing, but to flesh it out, that's a different kind of a complication, so I can't say that, but it is very important. So it pains somebody, I'll tell you, when your best friend knows more about you and what's happening with you than your spouse. And it goes both ways. So I, as a woman, have a best friend. Vivian doesn't know what's happening with me, but that person knows everything. The day he gets to find out that this person is privy to things that he didn't know to, it's going to hurt him, right? And so too, we have some men who have these friends, and you confide in these friends, but your wife don't know that you're doing something. Come on. What is happening there, that there is some kind of a emotional attachment, and it comes out of trust, and how it makes you feel. Because for me to become emotionally attached, I have to feel a sense of security in this relationship. Now, I want you to know that sometimes people become detached based on a number of things. For example, abuse could make me close in. So I have to find out now, why is my spouse detached, emotionally detached? Was it abuse? And it could be both male and female. Whether it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, whatever happens, and that person becomes closed in. They love you, yes, but they're afraid to open up because of the extent of hurt and pain that happened to them. Sometimes it could be feedback from your reaction given certain things. When that person opened up to you to tell you certain things, the way you reacted, they decide, oh, you know what, because, the idea might be stupid, but, when you call me fool and all kind of thing, next time, I'm not going to tell you that I have this plan. You know, I don't want to tell you what's in my heart and so on. Coming home and I'm telling you about what happened on the workplace, and I mean the way you blow up on me and tell me how stupid I should have confronted the man and blah, 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 and so on. Then next time I probably wouldn't tell you anything. And so sometimes it's a negative feedback from the spouse. And it's not just once, but a repeated negativity. And so that person says, you know what, I'm not going to be telling you anything else, you know, like that again. So sometimes infidelity, if there has been infidelity in the relationship at all, that could also make that person closed in. It's hard to trust you again. It's hard to reattach yourself to that. And sometimes it may be upbringing. Sometimes you may grow up in a place where the people in the family just detached. There is no real intimacy. You've never seen intimacy between mother and father, between siblings. You know, we just function in the family, but yet there is no touching and talking and meaningful conversation. Because we could talk, but there is nothing meaningful. And you know when somebody's just talking to you, or they could be incourteous, but there is no kind of true meaningful communication coming out there, right? So all of those things may be the cause of it, cause of that person being closed off. What do you do now? Because remember, that person is complaining that you are detached, you're not opening up, you're closed to me. You have to seek counseling. Both of you need to go, but perhaps the person who is the closed in one may probably need to go for counseling by yourself as well and talk about what happened. You know, what it is that happened that caused that you can't even open up to somebody to whom you're married. You know, what is it? You know, and come to that conclusion. When you've discovered what the problem is, because remember I gave you about 4 scenarios, then let your spouse join you in the counseling and let's talk about how are we going to now work through this. The counselor is going to now give you some steps on your way forward from that. You may need help to trace the source of your mistrust. You may need help if it's you're trailing something from a previous relationship. And I'll tell you out front, the bottom line, it doesn't matter what the scenario is, it's most likely forgiveness is necessary there. Almost any scenario that you think that caused you to close up and to become emotionally attached would have had its base in some form of hurt, and you have to forgive all the people involved. Sometimes you're talking as a child where promises were not kept. You're going to have to forgive your family members and your loved ones. Whatever the source, try to find it and allow the counselor to walk you through the forgiveness process and begin to build up your present relationship. What I find is that many times we allow our past to skip over the present, get into your future and destroy your future as well. You're in a new relationship now, and let's work on and trying to preserve what we have, because we may have lost something there, and if we did not work on treating with this, we could lose what we have as well and affect our future. One of the things we must never do when you're talking about some spouse complaining about how I'm behaving, don't ever say that's who I am, that's how I am. You know, you're trying to change me. No, I'm trying to tell you what is affecting our relationship. I'm trying to tell you what's important to me. I'm trying to tell you, you know, what's lacking there. And sometimes there is need for the other party, even the person who is supposedly complaining. You too may have to adjust, because one hand can't clap, as the old people say. You know, sometimes it's something that that person has to do as well, right? But as we go for counseling and we both agree to counsel together, what I've found in counseling is that usually one partner says, I don't need counseling, you do. You have the problem, so you go. We've seen that often. If your partner needs counseling, we need counseling. Because what the problem your partner is wrestling with affects you, then it affects us. So it means that all of us will work together to bring some kind of a closure to this situation, especially the issues that we talked about in the past, and let's chart a fresh course forward. Well, I think I came to the end of these 3 questions, and I hope I helped somebody who is listening, not just the person who asked these questions, because I would have already responded to the individual, but I felt that that person represented a whole lot of other people who would have had similar issues. And I am saying to you, let's work on our relationships. Let's work on our relationships. Parents, let's work on our relationships. Get with your children and let's try to resolve some of the things. Many times we don't listen to them. Listen to our children. We need to listen. We don't listen enough. I came from a background where the children had to listen to us, and we didn't feel that we were obligated to listen to them. So you shut them up one time, and especially if the child is saying something that makes you a little unhappy or uncomfortable, and we felt the solution was to shut up the child. No, we have to listen. We have to teach our children to communicate respectfully. You have the right to speak, but you have to be respectful. The child doesn't have the right to be disrespectful to you when they are communicating what their needs are, what their issues are, what their problems are. But we must allow them to talk. And so if we get them to talk, then that child will open up to us. One of the things that we hurt us most, especially as mothers, you have a daughter, and the daughter is going through some trauma, and she tells other people and not you. How often do we have girls in your house who are pregnant and they can't tell you? First, the beginning, you didn't know they had a boyfriend. You didn't know they're having sex. And then they can't come and tell you they're pregnant, but sometimes they could talk to an aunt. They could talk to one of your friends. They go to a neighbor, and they have been talking to the neighbor about this person that they have a relationship with, and they have been discussing things, sex and all that, and the neighbors can't, get involved. You have to try to encourage the child. You need to talk to your mother, but I can't break trust and go to the mother when you come to me, right? And so why is that so? Simply because sometimes we don't listen to them, right? So we need to listen. Your child must feel comfortable to come to talk to you, and that is where we will break that barrier, that closed thing where you say, well, the child not talking, they don't talk to me. We need to listen. We carry that straight into our relationships again. We need to listen. Listening is a skill. I'm still to work on it. I think I'm getting better over the years, but listening is something that we have not been able to do very well, in terms of our families. And you have to listen to what is said and sometimes listen to what is not said. So listening will help us with this whole journey of bettering our relationship. You look at our society, it's fragmenting, it's falling apart, it's splintering. And we now have to do something. I'm talking to you, you sitting down right there, and I'm saying to you, because you're the one who is listening to me, then the responsibility is on you. The onus is on you to do something about bettering that relationship, opening up that relationship. As I close, one of the biggest things that affects especially spouses is pride. Let him come to me first, and she had to come to me first. No, forget who she and he didn't, and who should do, and all of that. I should do, you should do, all of us should do. It doesn't matter who. And, we try to say, well, if I go first, I will look foolish or stupid. It doesn't matter. We all in the same boat. We are all together. We all in one. It doesn't matter who went first, who apologized. Let's try to get our families intact together. Let's see if we can build back a society. And it starts with you, because you're listening. You are the one who heard. God had it that you heard me. And especially if you're somebody who's been hearing me for the whole series, then wow, you're doubly responsible. God placed you here to make a difference in your family. The old people say charity begins at home. Trinidad and Tobago needs a change. We can't change the country, but we could change our family. We could change what is happening inside of our own house, and it begins with you.
Spread the word. Spread the word. Come together. Spread the word. Come together. Spread the word. Let all the saints come together.
Have you ever said to yourself, I really wish I can understand the Bible better? I want to communicate with God better. I want to be able to share my faith with others. Have you ever said, I'm reading the Bible, but I do not really understand it? Well, if you've ever said any of those things, I have really good news for you. My name is Jemma Duncan. My husband and I, Apostle Vivian Duncan, are the pastors of Divine Destiny Worship Center. And we have what we call School of the Bible. We started since 2014, and I'm going to give you a little rundown as to what School of the Bible is about and how we can facilitate you in fulfilling the needs that you have expressed. School of the Bible is a one-year course that runs from January to December. Every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then we have 4 all-day quarterly sessions, one Saturday every 3 months. Inclusive in all of this, we have movies. Our main course material is the Bible. The Bible is the one and only resource book that you have to have. There are other resource materials that we will have on offer that you could choose to get or not get. If you choose, then you have to order those materials. But other than that, there are 7 manuals that we use. And these 7 manuals, we're going to see them on the screen, and I'll give you a little rundown as to what they are. The first manual, manual number 1, is the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible. Manual number 2 contains the historical books from Joshua to Esther. Manual number 3, the books of poetry from Job to Song of Solomon. Manual number 4 are the books of prophecy. And the books of prophecy, they are divided into 2 sections: major prophets from Isaiah to Daniel, and the minor prophets from Hosea to Malachi. Now, when you come to the school, we'll talk about why they are considered major and minor. Manual number 5, the New Testament books now. The books of history, the 4 Gospels from Matthew to John. Manual number 6 are what we call the Pauline epistles. The epistles written by Apostle Paul from Romans to Philemon. And then manual number 7 are the general epistles, and they have a variety of authors, and the book of Revelation, the one prophetic book in the New Testament. The manuals are simply written and user-friendly. They are easy to use, and you can use them as a tool for study in the future. This program is designed to meet your need to simply understand the Bible better. The Bible is the only text, as I said. Other resources are optional and are available on request. Ask for a brochure at 633-3780. And you'll see the number scrolling across the screen. The brochure will contain all the information that you may need. We are now open for registration. I really hope that you take the effort and the time to do something about improving your family relations.